Hello everyone, it's Brianna and welcome to today's episode of Is She a Grandmother or Does She Just Dress Like That? Hello you guys, I hope you are doing well. Welcome to this rainy night. I am super excited to be doing the end of the year book tag for the first time. This tag was created by Ariel Bissett and I will link her video down below. I think I was supposed to do this tag earlier on in the year because one of the questions mentions an autumnal read and it is now definitely winter time here. But regardless, let's get started. First though, a really quick word from our sponsor, Book of the Month. Thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. If you guys don't know, Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers. Their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and help readers discover books that they love. Every month, their team goes through hundreds of books and picks the 5 best new and early release titles so that we can spend less time researching and more time reading. Book of the Month is totally risk-free. If there's a month that you're not really interested in any of their picks, you can skip that month anytime and you will not be charged. They also have the best price for new release hardcover fiction, and you can get your first book for only $5 this month using the code BOOKWISH. My sister and I actually ended up getting a year-long gift subscription for our parents for the holidays. Both of them have just recently retired, so they have a lot of free time and have been spending a lot of it reading and borrowing our books, so we thought, what better thing to give them for the season than their own gift subscription to Book of the Month. That way they can pick their own favorite books each month and hopefully discover some ones that they love to share with us. In a Holidays follows our main character May as she is stuck in a time loop and she's trying to break out of her rut and piece together her perfect Christmas. This Close to Okay follows a recently divorced therapist who one day saves the life of a man who is about to jump off a bridge. As the two get to know each other, they discover they have more in common than they thought and might be able to just save each other's lives. The Wife Upstairs is a thriller about a young, broke woman who falls in love with a rich, handsome widower and then becomes obsessed with finding out more about his missing wife. The Office of Historical Corrections is a collection of short stories that delves into contemporary American life and discusses race, culture, and history. People Like Her is a thriller about Emmy Jackson, a mommy blogger who has one obsessive follower that's going to threaten her and her entire family. Taking a look at the December book picks, I can already tell that there are some that I'm definitely going to be sharing with my parents. So the first question is, are there any books that you started this year that you still need to finish? There definitely are a couple of books that I really do need to finish, 3 of them being The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan Nguyen Mai, Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Adib Karam, and Burning God by R.F. Kuang. So these 3 books I haven't finished for 3 different reasons. For The Mountains Sing, the reason I haven't gotten around to finishing it despite being like halfway through the book is because I just don't know if I'm ready for that type of emotional journey yet. If you guys aren't aware, The Mountains Sing is an epic historical fiction that follows the story of one family across decades as they go through the Vietnam War. This is obviously a really personal story for me as my family is made up of Vietnamese refugees. My mom had read this book and so has my sister. They both loved it. My mom said it's probably her favorite book of the year. She really enjoyed it, and she's not really a big historical fiction fan. So there's just a lot of high expectations going into it and I'm nervous. I don't know. I know it's gonna be a really emotional journey for me, and like afterwards when I finish, I know my mom's gonna want to talk to me about it and go over what the story was about and everything, and I'm not ready for the tears. I've read a lot of emotional books this year. This one in particular is personal and emotional, so that's just why I've been putting it off so much, but I really want to finish it before December ends. In terms of Darius the Great Is Not Okay, the reason I haven't gotten around to finishing that one yet is because I am a very big mood reader, and typically the mood that I'm in is fantasy, whether that be middle grade fantasy, YA fantasy, or adult fantasy, dark fantasy. I just really like fantasy novels. And so me being a huge fantasy fan, I really have to be in a very specific mood to want to read a YA contemporary like Darius. It follows the story of our main character who is Iranian American as he struggles with issues of depression, mental illness, and identity. I really liked how the story was going as I was reading it. I liked how nerdy the main character was and all of the references that were in there, and I liked seeing the character development as far as I had read, but just being able to stay in the mood of wanting to read and finish YA contemporaries is really difficult, but I really do want to finish it because it is one of my friend's favorite books. So being able to just get through it, I know I will love it once I finish, so that's definitely one that I have on the books to finish before the end of the year. Finally, The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This should not come as a surprise to you guys that that's something I definitely want to finish. It is the 3rd and final book in the Poppy War trilogy. The Poppy War trilogy is a series that I have been raving about non-stop this year. I absolutely love the first two novels, and The Burning Goddess, the final installment. If you guys aren't aware, The Poppy War is a historical fantasy, I would say, historical adult fantasy. Very gory, very graphic, very violent. And it borrows a lot from the Second Sino-Japanese War, from imperialism, stories of colonialism, of violence, of war crimes. It is a fantastic story. R.F. Kuang is an amazing author. I really look forward to reading any more books that she comes out with. So I've just been putting off finishing this because I don't want the series to end. I'm sure any of you guys who have favorite series understand what I mean when you just don't want to say goodbye to these characters, to this world, to this universe, to this storyline just yet. So you kind of just put off finishing it as long as you can so that you can just prolong the heartbreak of finishing. And I know in particular with The Burning God, if the first two books are anything to base it off of, it's going to ruin my life and break my heart and leave me emotionally empty for the next like 3 weeks. So I'm not ready for that turmoil yet, so I am putting it off. But all of my friends are bullying me because they already read The Burning God and they're just waiting for me to finish it so they can talk to me about it. I will get to it, I promise, but for now I am just saving my soul and trying to read happy things for the time being. The second question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? And this was the question that made me realize I should have probably done this tag earlier than December. So instead of an autumnal book, I'm going to talk about a winter book that I feel will really help me get into the vibes of December and by extension January and February as well. I really want to finish reading Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. It is the sequel to Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. This is a middle grade fantasy that I was introduced to through Monica Kim, whose channel I will link below. It's one of her favorite novels and we're reading it for the Magical Girl Society, which I will also link below. Please join. It is a super fun community. Anyways, that was our book for November. I finished reading it and was absolutely in love with the story. Morrigan Crow is an 11-year-old girl who has been told her entire life that she is cursed. She is cursed to die on or before her 12th birthday. Then when her 12th birthday finally arrives and she's slated to pass away, she is then whisked away by a man called Jupiter North into this magical world called Nevermore. He then tells her that the curse was in fact a myth and she has amazing magical abilities, and she is now entered into these trials to enter the Wondrous Society. This probably sounds like a mess of a synopsis. I'm very sorry. I feel like it's really hard to concisely explain the events of the book without spoiling it, so I'd really just suggest you guys read it or check out the audiobook, which is amazing as well. I think that middle grade fantasies just touch my heart and I love them so much, and I think from what I understood of the first novel, it had a lot of very fun wintry Christmas holiday vibes. There was a couple of chapters that were specifically surrounding the holidays, and I think the second one is probably going to be similar just from a brief look at what the chapters are called. So I think it'll be really fun just to be reading another middle grade fantasy where kids just get to be kids and get to experience magic and go through all these trials and errors and have found family, which is my favorite thing in the whole world. Found family trope is chef's kiss. So I can't wait to finish reading the second book. I am a couple chapters in now and I can already feel the wintry magical vibes and I love it very much. Question 3, is there a new release that you are still waiting for? Yes, at this time, I think when this video comes out it might have already been released, but I am waiting for When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Nhi Va. That is a short story or novella, I want to say, and it's a continuation of The Empress of Salt and Fortune, which is another novella slash short story. I don't know how it's classified, but it is surprise of fantasy. It is inspired a lot by Vietnamese fantasy and I really enjoy the different type of storytelling. It is told through the eyes of a cleric as they travel across the country and kind of gather the stories of people that they meet. I had never read a book that was told in this type of way before and I really liked it, and I think the cover art, which I will put right here, is so beautiful. I want a poster of it just to put in my room. So if you have a chance, definitely check out Empress of Salt and Fortune and When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain if it's out already by the time you guys watch this video. I definitely want to read it. It's a really fast read. It's like less than 100 pages if I recall correctly, so you'll breeze through it really fast and then you'll have your heart broken and you'll be like, how did such a short story affect me so much, just like me? And then you can hop into my DMs and tell me about it. Question 4 is, what are 3 books you want to read by the end of the year? So because I'm doing this book tag a little bit later than anticipated, I'm just going to list 2 books that I want to finish by the end of the year. One is Jade War by Fonda Lee and the other is The Rise of Kyoshi by FCE. So Jade War is a sequel to Jade City, which is my favorite book that I've read so far this year. that is saying a lot because I read some really amazing novels this year, but Jade City just blew me away. Jade War, I heard, is even better. And so if you guys like stories, adult fantasy about two clans that are at war, we get to read from the perspective of siblings on one clan, and they are the leaders of their clan, and you get to find out all of the inner workings. Fonda Lee does an amazing job building up these characters. I think that's what Fonda Lee does best. I was so attached to these characters so quickly, and even if I don't particularly like them as people, I find them so interesting as characters. I'm very invested in their storyline, and what Fonda Lee does best is she really puts you into the headspace of each character and develops a fantasy world through that, so you become so immersed in it. And while I do think Jade City is a lot of information, there's a lot to understand about the world and how the hierarchy of the clans works and everything, and you are presented information in a really engaging way. So I think even if you are not a big fantasy reader, this is definitely a good one to start with if you want to get into adult fantasy, because I think it's actually one of the more accessible ones despite being a lot of information. It's just, you don't even realize that you're starting to understand the function of the world because it's being embedded into some really exciting action or character development. So you just learn without actually learning, and it's amazing. And Fonda Lee is just, again, chef's kiss. Huge fan. As for The Rise of Kyoshi by FCE, it is part of the Avatar The Last Airbender universe. It follows the Avatar Kyoshi as she makes her way through the world and comes into her own as the Avatar. I have heard endless praise for this book. I had originally made it my book club pick for November, but life got really busy. I had my puppy, there was wildfire evacuations that had me out of my area, and I was just really stressed out last month, so I didn't get any reading done. So I extended The Rise of Kyoshi into December as well. I'll link my Discord down below. You guys can join if you guys want to read along with me in my book club, but I want to get in on the hype. Everyone who has read this has hyped it in like an insane amount, so I want to jump on to that hype train and be a huge fan of Kyoshi as well. I love reading about powerful women who are maybe gay. I don't know, that's just what I've been told. So I'm very excited. Rise of Kyoshi, high on my list to finish before the end of the year. Question 5. Is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? Yes, there are 2 books that I think, if I get to reading them before the end of 2020, they are 2 books I think could potentially maybe knock out Jade City as my favorite book of the year, which is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong and Tristan Strong Destroys the World by Kwame Mbaliye. Those 2 books I really think could do it. I loved Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky, which is the first of the series. It is a middle grade fantasy with Western African folklore and African American mythology weaved in. It's part of the Rick Riordan imprint, so if you're a fan of like Percy Jackson, how mythology was weaved into our world, you will be a huge fan of Tristan Strong. I loved reading about West African American mythology. I have not learned about it much, and I really liked the storytelling aspect of it and how the book dealt with grief and with family. I can't recommend Tristan Strong enough. I think if you are looking for a middle grade fantasy to get into, Tristan Strong is a very good place to start. In terms of These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, this book was hyped up a lot by a lot of my friends. Chloe is a close friend to a lot of my friends in the community, so I feel like I have just been absorbing all of this information about Chloe and her book, and I've seen all of the memes, all of the lookbooks, all of the really cool pictures that you guys have been posting all over book Twitter. So I think I need to just nail it down, finally read this book, find out what all the hype is about, and based on what everyone's been saying, I feel like it could be one that becomes a favorite of mine as well. So I'm really looking forward. These 2 in particular, again, you can probably see a trend that I really like fantasy books, but I really do think only another fantasy book could knock out Jade City. So these 2 I am looking forward to a lot. I already purchased Tristan Strong Destroys the World from my local bookstore, so hopefully it comes soon so I can go pick it up. I'm so excited to read both. The final question: have you already started making reading plans for 2021? I have not. If this year was any indicator, I just think that because I have no idea what's going to happen to me in 2021, I don't want to start making plans and then feeling disappointed in myself for not keeping through or following through with them. I don't want to make any like hard line, oh, I want to read this at this time, because again, I'm a huge mood reader, so I'll just pick up whatever I like whenever I want, and then I will always just drop books even if they were on my TBR and read something else if I'm not in the mood. So to come up with like a really strict, rigid plan is just not going to work out for me. I have finally learned that after months of trying to come up with rigid plans. That's just not how I work as a reader. So I think I'm accepting that about myself, and I'm just going to go with the flow. If I feel like a cute romance novel, I'll read one. If I feel like a dark fantasy, I'll read one. If I feel like a fun middle grade, I'll read one. So I'll let you guys know when the time comes what I'm planning on picking up. And then also, please do let me know down below what your guys' most anticipated books for 2021 are as well, and what your favorites were from 2020. I'm always looking to add more books onto my TBR so then I can have something to pick from when I'm in the mood for certain types of books. So let me know down below. I can't wait to hear from you guys. I hope you guys are doing well and that you are happy and fulfilled and life is treating you well, and know that I am rooting for you, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.